Welcome to Telltales, where we are about to start one of our first of several challenges. This one being the cheap reel challenge, with the goal of seeing, can we take a cheap reel like this Shakespeare Arsenal 20 that you could pick up for less than $30 used and make it compete with some of our modern day mid-priced reels like the Pisky Fun Chaos or the Casking Rover, or see if we can make it compete in terms of cast distance and braking with some of our really top tier reels like this Abu Garcia Ambassador 7000 casting special. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do some baseline tests and show those back to you, and then follow up with improvements to this reel. The first one being the removal of its level wind. Now, on any standard round reel, when you cast, your level wind right here is going to synchronize the line as it exits the reel and then as it returns to the reel as you continue to reel it in. Now, because your spool turns itself, then turns a gear set and turns the worm drive and drags the level wind, you can lose a lot of your casting energy. And we're going to find out just how much. So, on our test reel for this process, I have gone ahead and torn the reel apart and removed the level wind gears and the level wind shaft entirely. If you were to do this on a reel at home, you could go ahead and plug these holes with a piece of tape or anything else like that. I've gone ahead and 3D printed plugs to keep elements out of this reel, and we're going to find out on this first upgrade just how much does removing your level wind improve your cast distance. Welcome back to our cheap fishing reel challenge, where we are seeing how much we can improve this Shakespeare Arsenal 20, a $30 fishing reel. Now, I am casting a 3-ounce sinker with 30-pound mono. We're keeping the brakes just tight enough, the single brake adjustment, to prevent a really aggressive backlash. So just a little bit of thumbing is necessary, as little as possible. As we go throughout the series, we're going to maybe try changing our weight, we're going to try changing our line, and we're going to try adjusting the bearings that are in it and loosening those brakes, improving casting technique, whether that's a Heteris cast or some others. But for today, we are seeing just how far can we cast this setup exactly as it was prior to removing the level wind. Now, prior to removing the level wind, I was only able to achieve a 20 to 25 yard cast. And some of you are thinking, well, that's not far at all. And you're right, it's not. But many of these reels, whether for jigging or otherwise, weren't designed to be casted far. They're designed to be dropped off the side of the boat or casted 10, 15 yards off the side of the boat. They weren't meant to be launched, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 plus yards or more from the bank. And so we're seeing, can we turn a reel that, casts like this one does into something better? So let's see if we can't improve that a little bit this time around. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Great. So that was a 30-yard cast. So now we're starting to see some improvement. A 5 to 10 yard improvement is, that's a 20 to 30% improvement over how this reel existed prior to me making any of these adjustments. So, to this initial adjustment of removing the level wind. And who knows? I've been in situations where an extra 5 or 10 yards would make all the difference for getting your bait out into that deep channel where those big cats or those big sturgeon are laying. But let's give this another go and see if we can't beat that 30-yard mark. I'd really like to see that today. There we go. Let's go see what that was. I can't tell from here, but I can see it was definitely more than 30. 37 yards. So we've hit 37 yards. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Now, when I tested this with the level wind, I probably gave it 10 to 20 casts. As you can see, just from today, I've gone 27, 26, 29, 30, and now all the way to 37. A big part of this is going to be familiarity with the rod, improving casting technique, and I wanted to make sure that I gave that initial test a good 10 or 20 casts to make sure that I was casting just as far as that cast or that reel could at the time. And I tried all kinds of things. I loosened the brakes and gave myself a backlash so bad I sat here for an hour with the camera off trying to just get it reset for the next test. But I'm thinking if I give this just a little more, I might even be able to hit 40 yards, which is, you know, when I was casting 20, 25, really double what I was able to do before. And I'm gonna give this just one more cast, and then I'm gonna introduce you to our second reel for our cheap reel challenge, but this time a spinning reel. So here we go, for all the marbles. You know, I didn't hit the 50-yard line, but we're pretty close. Right at 40 yards. So, 40 yards. We have officially doubled sort of that median cast. Now, my best cast with the level wind were at 25 yards, and so that leads me just to want to give this one more try. Now, I've loosened these brakes a little bit. I might have a huge backlash, and if so, we're going to move on to that other reel rather than have you sit and watch through that or me pause the video for that sake. That is a full 50 yards and just a little bit of an overrun. No real backlash, nothing's really bound there. Actually just a little bit. Just a little bit. But if you've ever had a really good backlash, you know you can be there for, 10, 20 minutes or an hour, depending on your line if you get one really tight and some braid. But this one is just a couple strands snug, and there we go, it's completely out. Of course you never want to have any kind of overrun or backlash at all, but if I were out fishing and I had that bait go out fishing for catfish or sturgeon, I wouldn't be upset if I got it that far and just had this much of a backlash to unwind prior to sitting down and kind of relaxing and waiting for that bait. Now, I'm not going to say you wouldn't lose a fish over it, because you certainly could. I mean, seconds matter, and sometimes your bait hits the water and that quickly you've got something on it. So all things to consider, but I'm going to call that a not bad backlash for a cast where I can see we're at or past the 50-yard line based on the logo in the center of the field, and that officially doubles the casting distance of this reel. So why would somebody want to remove their level wind? Well, because you can double your casting distance over it. Now, one thing to notice, when you remove the level wind, that line is going to want to bunch up. So you're going to leverage your finger a little bit to guide that line, just like your line guide would on retrieve. Now, I've noticed that when I'm fishing, that's the last thing I'm thinking about. But my spool is never so full that I can't just reel it in and let it, bunch up towards the center. And after I've got that fish off, oftentimes I will go ahead and cast it back out, get that line back off, and then use my thumb to guide it back as I, set that pull up just to be set away or for another cast. So I wanted to see if I could replicate that last 50-yard cast, and so I took myself out to the 50-yard line as I reeled that line in just to lay it nicely, and casted it back, and I walked back, and look where we landed. Right here, halfway between the 40, I don't know, I'd call that 49.25 yards. So we are really, really happy with those improvements. Of course, casting technique is going to be incredibly important, and we're going to do a whole video on that. Thumbing a line, setting brakes, adjusting spool tension, all of that, to see what impact that can really make. If you've got a reel maybe you're really happy with, you just want to improve your technique. Now, we've got those kids out there far enough that I think we're going to be just fine to show you our Okuma Chaser BX65 combo for just one cast, just to get you used to this. Now, this is on a little bit longer of a rod. I think this is on a 10-foot rod again, but this whole rod reel combo is less than $30 at Walmart when they sold it. You can find it on eBay for that now. This isn't new. This rod I found after sitting out in the sun for months and months and months and months, and so I sanded all of the flake and clear coat. I mean, it looked like it just should have gone in a trash can, and maybe it should have, but we took all that off, and a lot of the paint with it, you can see this reel is no longer blue. It's really blue and white, and we just laid a new layer of resin on this. In my kind of rod building equipment, I had that resin, and so we freshly poured it, made sure all the wraps and lines were good, and nevertheless, let's just see what it can do. You know, that was one cast. No backlash. I was able to put some effort into it. And sometimes that's what makes me rethink, why do I like and why do I use round reels? This reel, as is, out of the box, never having been touched, rusty, really cheap, you know, Berkley big game 30-pound line, just casted what I have to guess is further than any of my casts with that round reel. So I'm gonna go over and check, but I'm guessing that was 55, 60 yards. So that cast went 62 yards, and to prove it wasn't a fluke, I casted it back, and you know, if you could see the way my line's pointed, we are halfway through the end zone. You'll see this line come bouncing up right there, which puts that cast at 65 plus yards. Now, here's a question I'll pose to you all. When I casted that pole, my cast went straight. Now, when I casted this one, it moved probably 20 yards off to the left, both casts. Now, have you ever had a pole that for whatever reason casts left or casts right, doesn't cast straight? If so, can you tell me why and what you can do to solve it? Because that's something I'd like to know. With some of my trout rods and bass rods, there are ones that just cast like a laser and others that seem to veer, and I haven't been able to figure out what causes it. As a recap, we will be doing some work with this Okuma Chaser BX65 on the drag, on the bearings, on the way these gear teeth mesh and all the noise they make. And we will continue working on this Shakespeare Arsenal 20 in upcoming videos to see what else can we do to make this cast further. There's a lot of things that I have in mind. If there are any ideas that you have that you'd like to see me test, please send those my way and we will get them in the lineup. I am back at home following that testing and wanted to share just a couple extra thoughts before I let you go. First, if you like this type of content, please like and follow. It helps the channel grow. Second, if you don't like it, put it in the comments why. Tell me what you do want to see. Tell me what would be helpful to you or other fishermen. Also, if you have questions about fishing gear, fishing areas, fishing tips at all, please comment below. I am happy to share what I've learned over the last decade of fishing. I fished in the ocean for sharks. I pulled 8-foot sturgeon out of the Snake River in Idaho. I've caught bass and salmon and trout from here to Arkansas. And I'd be happy to help with anything that would help you to have a really successful fishing trip. So thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.